Hello, this is Professor Laird, and this is a short supplemental video for the Political Ideologies class 103-002-LS. If you have not watched the previous video that I posted that talks about the syllabus in general, please go back and watch that first, then come back to this one, and we'll talk more specifically about the schedule for this class. Again, what I've mentioned before is that this is an online asynchronous course, but I want to make it as interactive as possible. So what's going to happen is that video lectures will be posted each Tuesday and Thursday, and there will be a discussion forum following each of those video lectures on Tuesday and Thursday, and you'll have a 9 p.m. deadline in which to respond to that discussion forum for your attendance for that day's class. For the course description, we're going to be looking at various ideologies that have been around the world for the past few centuries. We'll be looking at liberalism, democracy, conservatism, socialism, communism, fascism, Islamism, feminism. The textbook for the course, Political Ideologies and the Democratic Ideal, the 11th edition. Most of the course will be coming out of this book, even though I will have several supplemental lectures that will kind of be adding to the course here that is not specifically in the textbook. Also required is the reader that's got the collection of essays, ideals, and ideologies. This is the 9th edition, which should suffice, and that will be a little bit cheaper if you want to go ahead and get that one. The 11th edition is also online if you want to go ahead and get that. It updates it a little bit. There's the online version. Also, I'll be posting supplemental articles on Moodle, so you'll definitely want to access Moodle on a regular basis. Of course, that's where all the video lectures will be posted. You'll want to keep up with current events and world politics through credible sources. This will be relevant to your paper assignment. You'll also be instructed on how to access the library databases for peer-reviewed academic journals. Very important part of your paper assignment is to look up these credible, legitimate sources where the scientific studies are published. Peer-reviewed academic journals. We'll get into more detail on those as we go throughout the course. We've already talked about the online course participation in general with the first video. The main difference here, of course, is that this class will be conducted each Tuesday and Thursday. That's when the video lectures will be posted. That'll be the class day, so to speak. And then I will also be posting a discussion forum following that video. Typically, the videos will be up around 8 o'clock in the morning, and then typically by noon, I'll have a discussion forum of some type that will be posted, and you will have until 9 p.m. that evening to respond to the discussion forum in order to be accounted present for that day's class. Just a quick repeat on the tests for the course. They will be time tests, approximately 35 minutes. And you will want to be prepared for those tests before you start them because you're not going to have time to look up the answers. So you want to prepare for those tests just as it would be a closed book test that we're having in the classroom. Just to be safe, you're going to want to be prepared for that. Let's talk a little bit more in detail about the paper topics for this class. Each student will choose a topic from a list that I will provide. I'll post that here in a couple of weeks or so. This will be a list of various philosophies, ideologies, and assorted isms that we'll touch on throughout the class to a certain degree, some more than others. But you will choose from that list of topics. And then on March 11th, that's when your 1/2 page paper topic summary is due. All I will need on that day is a Word file, 1/2 page Word file, double-spaced, that will be telling me about which of these that you want to write about and include at least one credible source that helps describe what it is you might have learned a little bit about that topic when you're preparing for it. Also keep in mind that if there's repeats or if there's more than one student that is looking at the same topic, I may ask you to choose another topic, so you will probably want to have a second choice in mind just in case. Now, what is very important about this particular class and the paper assignment, these philosophies, these ideologies have been around in some cases for centuries. Your paper will not be historical look at that topic. You'll not go back in the past and look at some particular event or period. What you're going to do is bring that philosophy or bring that ideology forward, bring it into current days. Your intro to your paper will, of course, provide a little bit of a historical overview or recap, telling how we got to where we are today. But your paper will focus on what is the influence of that particular philosophy or ideology. What's it doing today or not? Because these philosophies have waned, perhaps. Some of them may have actually grown in influence. So that's what you're going to be analyzing with this paper, is what its effect is in today's world, on today's politics, in what particular region, for example. What particular group of people does it influence, and how, why, what for? So you're going to delve into that in an analytical paper. The paper will be due on Tuesday, May 4th. On that day, you'll be submitting your final paper, which is a 4.5-page minimum paper. That's not including the reference page, but it will be attached to Moodle in a Word file. Keep in mind what the criteria is as far as format for all paper assignments: double-spaced 12-point font times New Roman 1-inch margins, at least 6 references, 4 of which minimum will be peer-reviewed academic journals. We'll get into that more detail later on as far as how to find those and how to cite those. A little bit more on grades. 3 tests. Each test will be 20% of your grade. This is very important. No makeups or extra credit for any of the tests. You have to keep up. You have to pay attention to the schedule. You have to meet the schedule. As I said in the previous video, you can't just shoot me an email a couple days later and say, I guess I need to take that test. Nope. If you miss the test, you'll get a 0 on it. That's extremely important. It's up to you to keep track of the schedule and know when the tests are. And here in a minute, we'll be looking at this schedule, and you'll know exactly when the tests are. The paper is 25% of your grade. There's a late penalty for that paper, and there are no incompletes given for the course. As I talked about in more detail previously, the participation is 15% of your grade. There's no extensions on those discussion forums. If you miss that deadline, we just move on. In general, for the class schedule, deadline to respond to each discussion forum will be 9 p.m. each Tuesday and Thursday. Those are the days when the video lectures will be posted. Any assignments that I may ask for, whether it's a bibliography or just a response to a discussion forum, pop quiz, whatever, those will need to be completed, posted before 9 p.m. on those days that they are due. And as far as the tests, the deadline for the test will be 9 p.m. on that particular day that it's scheduled. As I said, the tests will be timed. They will be 35 minutes approximately, and you'll have to take that test in one sitting. But you'll have almost a 9-hour window from around noon to 9 p.m. in which to take that test. But it needs to be completed before 9 p.m. Let's talk for just a couple of minutes here about the schedule. First day of class, what we're looking at right now are the videos about the syllabus, going into that into detail. Very important that you understand and are aware of the requirements of the class. Then we will go right into the books. Chapter 1, Introduction to Ideologies. Then I want to do a little supplement here that is not really expounded on too much in the book. I want to delve into this a little bit deeper. Evolution of the modern brain, and even more importantly, the evolution of the modern state, because around that period, as we get into the 1600s and 1700s. There's a lot happening in that period, and a lot of it was facilitated by the formation of our modern state system. So it's very important. Do a little bit of historical background on that one. Then we'll be looking Chapter 2, the democratic ideal. Then I also want to provide a little supplement on that about the democratic culture and democratization, particularly in the world today. We may be seeing a decline in democracy around the world, and we want to talk about how difficult democratization is. Also on that day, I'm going to post another lecture. You'll notice that since this is a somewhat more of a condensed class, I may be putting more than one lecture on in a class day. So on that day, I also want to post another video, a little bit shorter video, that just gives you a general introduction to the class paper, the writing assignment. Also, I'll be posting the list of paper topics that day that you'll have to choose from. The next video lecture will be Chapter 3, Liberalism Part 1. I want to break that up because in the middle of that lecture, they talk about, we kind of get to a point in history where we're looking at the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So I want to spend a particular extra day talking about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights so that we can all have read that and get a little bit of a background. Then we want to finish Chapter 3, Liberalism Part 2, and then the first test will be March 9th, looking at Chapters 1 through 3, as well as that supplemental material there on the modern state, democratization, Constitution. Then I want to post a video on the scientific method, which I do for all of my classes because this is important in preparing for your paper using a scientific method in order to get a better analytical, critical overview of your topic. Now, also on that day is when your paper topic is due. All I need on that day is just the 1/2 page summary about the topic that you want to write about. Spring break will be March 15th through 19th. Then we'll pick up on Chapter 4, Conservatism. Then Chapter 5, we want to break up into 2 parts, Socialism through Marx Part 1, Socialism through Marx Part 2. Then I want to post a separate video on peer-reviewed academic journals since they're so important to the body of knowledge of any subject. The paper topic, of course, this is going to be the heart of your paper assignment to finding these peer-reviewed academic journals. So there'll be a separate video on that. Then I want to put both of these video lectures on the same day, looking at socialism after Marx. Then we'll be looking at fascism. That's broken down into 2 parts, but both of those video lectures will be posted on that same day. Then test 2 will be April 13th, looking at chapters 4 through 7 and the scientific method. For the last third of the course, we'll be looking at Chapter 8, Liberation Ideologies, and then I want to add a supplement to that, looking at the politics of identity, the identity groups, the ethnic identity of groups around the world. That's the difficulty for those groups to coexist within states. That's the biggest source of conflict in the world today. Chapter 9, we'll be looking at ecology as ideology. Also want to post a relatively short video on that day that just is a reminder on the things you need to do for finalizing your paper. Also on that day, I'm going to be asking for what I call the bibliography in progress, which is just the references that you found so far in the proper format so that we can make sure that we've got that down as far as what the correct sources are, particularly peer-reviewed, as well as how to cite them correctly on your paper. Then Chapter 10, looking at radical Islamism, and then I want to add another video lecture supplement to that, focusing specifically on terrorism. Another video lecture supplement looks at white supremacy and hate groups, and then another one looks at cults and conspiracy theories. And then on this day, May 4th, your paper is due, and that's a 4.5 page minimum paper in a Word file that will be attached to a form that I set up in Moodle. Last chapter is 11, the future of ideology. And then May 11th, last day of the course, will be test 3, looking at chapters 8 through 11, including the supplemental material that I've covered since the last test. Okay, so that's a breakdown of the syllabus for our political ideologies class. Next video lecture that we'll get into will be Chapter 1, Introduction to Ideologies.